Hi, welcome back to the Cuzzy Sound channel and my fourth vlog of 2020. Now, last weekend I should have been heading over to Sheffield for Synth Fest UK 2020, but the pandemic put a stop to that. Fortunately, the organisers and collaborators put together a virtual event which, if you didn't catch it, it was an 8-hour marathon live stream. I mean, the stamina of the team there was just absolutely phenomenal. There's some really interesting stuff. I'll stick a link and you can kind of dip in. You might not want to sit and watch 8 hours continuous, but yeah, look through it. There's some really interesting stuff in there. The reason I bring that up is that Synth Fest generally marks an anniversary for the Cuzzy Sound project, because it was at Synth Fest 2018 where, through discussions with my son and some of the exhibitors at the event, the seed actually took hold for the Cuzzy Sound project idea. If you've seen earlier vlogs, you probably realise it probably Cuzzy Sound wasn't a name I got then. All I knew is that I wanted to get into DIY synths. Why did I want to get into the DIY synths? Well, I was blown away by all the Eurorack modular stuff, and I was equally blown away by the kind of prices that they were asking for. It's just a single module. Now the thing is, I don't have a big income. I get enough each month to pay the bills and fill the fridge, and then there's not a lot left. There's just enough to kind of support a kind of low-key hobby, which is kind of what this project is for me as much as anything else. So I started looking at the Eurorack Kits, and I was still going to have to spend several £100 to get something that I would actually enjoy playing. And I was starting to get a little bit disillusioned, and then I started talking to some of the guys like the racket people who make the little racket kits with things like Baby 8s and punk consoles and things and what have you. I'm not endorsing them, I'm not promoting them, but they're out there. But that kind of, when we got into the discussion, it was, well, there's a whole load of stuff online which gives you circuit diagrams, hints, tips, and help in putting together some basic noise boxes and some more sophisticated synth modules. So I went away and I started to put it together, and I found that I could actually afford to build enough modules to have something which was okay. It wasn't commercial quality Eurorack excellence, but I got a modular synth that I could make electronic music with. And well, the first one I built, Project 9, probably cost me no more than £50. So it was a big difference. Even in kit form, I'd be struggling to find one Eurorack module for that kind of money. And here I was with dual oscillator, dual envelope, synth that I could actually play. Alright, it didn't follow all the industry standards, and yeah, it's kind of, it really is at the experimental end, but it's a synth and it's playable. Moving on a bit, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that I've built since then Project 12, which is dual rail 12 volt power supply modular synth, which has now got over 30 modules in it. I've done all sorts of things, and it really is getting quite substantial. But I would say that I've still spent less than 200 and something pounds. I've not actually totaled it up altogether, but it can't come to more than £300 in total for all that I've built, which, if you're getting a high-end Eurorack module, that's one module. So yeah, you can see why I went where I went. However, listening to some of the presentations from Synth Fest and some of the chats that go on online and looking at what other people have done, and having experienced starting from scratch, the amount of R&D, research and development, that I put in when I get a schematic diagram off the net, I've then, if there isn't a ready-made strip board layout, I then have to kind of work out how to transfer from a circuit diagram to a layout on a strip board. I then have to solder it all together, test it. They don't always work first time. Some of them, I never seem to get them working, and yeah, I've got a box full of potentials, but not working. Alright, failures. Yeah, whatever. But the point I'm making is that there's a lot of effort goes into getting it to that point. So if you look at the Eurorack Kits, what you get in there is they will produce a brochure to go with the kit that says this is guaranteed to do this. So the amount of R&D that goes into one of those kits, they can't afford to have the failures, and they can't afford to have too many returns because they're selling these things to people. You know, so it's now starting to justify the cost of these kits. And if you've ever sat down with a kit and worked your way through building it and soldering it and testing it, and if you have a problem with it, you've then got to do the troubleshooting, and I've been through this particularly with oscilloscopes. I've had one oscilloscope kit that basically is packed in 4 times. It's still dead now. And in the end, I gave up and bought the updated version of it, which worked first time and is absolutely brilliant. But never mind. So then you get to the actual ready-built Eurorack. Well, that's plug and play. They're guaranteed. They will do exactly what it says in the brochure. You will plug them in, they will work. And if they don't work, it's not your problem to troubleshoot it. You send it back and they sort it out for you. Well, they do if they're a decent company. So again, you're starting to justify some of the cost. And when you realise that although interest is building quite substantially for Eurorack and modular and experimental electronic stuff, it's still quite a niche market, so they're not going to be shifting millions of these things. They'll be lucky if they shift thousands of them. It's more likely shifting a few hundred will be a good day, or a good year even. So the kind of money they're going to get back from all this effort they've put in is reflected, and for the volume of sales is reflected in the price. So I'm starting to understand now why the prices are looking like they are. And yeah, okay, I understand it. I still can't afford it. And to some extent, I probably wouldn't want to go down that route. Because if I'm buying something that is exactly the same as what everybody else has bought, and will do exactly the same things that it says in the brochure that everybody else has got, do I want to be sounding like everybody else? Or do I want to be exploring? No, I'd rather be exploring. So, if I had the money to buy Eurorack, yes, of course, I'd buy 1 or 2 modules just because I'd want to play with them. But do I want a Eurorack system because, you know, everybody else has got a Eurorack system and I've heard what they do and I want to do it? No, I want to explore and do something that is more me, mine. And so I'm going to stick with the low-end building. Now, in terms of this channel and sharing things, there's a debate as to how much do you share and how much is fair, how much isn't fair, and some of the grassroots DIYers actually start developing their own kits, which are far less expensive than some of the Eurorack kits. So if you're still a bit scared of getting in there, then you know, look out some of those. There's a few people that are going down that route, and yeah, great, good on them. Go for it. It helps spread the word, get people in. currently I have no intention of going down that route, and I'll tell you for why. Everything I built is courtesy, well, no, I would say 95% of what I've built is courtesy of somebody having done the background work and shared a circuit diagram online, which I can then take and build and play. So as far as I'm concerned, if I took, built and sold, am I stealing their work? Whereas if I take, build and then reshare what I've done with it, then it's just spreading the word. They've already shared it once, they've already put it in the public domain. So I'm sharing, I'm not stealing. It's the difference between stealing and sharing as far as I can see. However, if you've taken something and you've taken a general concept in electronics and then developed your own take on it and put the effort into developing circuit boards and all the other stuff that goes with it, then yeah, it's justified to go out there and charge for it. But I would say that for me, a lot of the fun is doing the research in the first place. And even if they give you a circuit diagram and they give you a layout, you can build it. And I've heard some people describe that as painting by numbers. Doesn't make you an artist, but you end up with something that looks like a picture. Well, I give you a circuit diagram, I give you a strip board layout. You can just copy the strip board layout, plug it in, and hopefully it works. And yeah, you can go away and play it. If that's what you want to do, fine. What I would suggest though is that the more you learn about how the circuit works, the more you understand how the signal path travels through your synth, and the more you will get out of playing electronic music on your synth, because you start to get more of an empathy for the machine. That was a bit of a ramble on, but yeah, so it was Synth Fest 2018 where all of that started. So I suppose last weekend was pretty much the second anniversary of the Cuzzy Sound project. Happy birthday, Cuzzy Sound. Okay, future. What of my projects have I got on? At the moment I'm actually building a synth for my son. He, as a Christmas present, he wanted me to build him a modular synth, but he wanted a really simple version of what I've been doing. He certainly doesn't expect me to produce a 30 module Project 12. So what I'm actually doing, I'm basing it on the Project 9 concept. Project 9 meaning it has a single rail 9 volt supply, but it's a cut down version. I was going to call it Project 9 Mini, but no, so it's Project 920 because it's 2020. But it's got a couple of oscillators in there, an envelope, there's an LFO option, and a few things which I've discussed with him, so he's got an idea as to what's going to be in there. I'm not going to wave around what I've done so far, because he's likely to watch these things and he doesn't want to spoil the surprise. But after Christmas, there'll be at least one or more videos on Project 920, the synth I built for my son. So you'll get to see and hear what it ends up like. Other projects, I've got one or two ideas for kind of little boxes type projects, or even the Victorian inventor type projects. So some of those are in the pipeline or fairly close to what's happening. I really need to get down and start recording some of my ideas for music. I've got ideas for some of the tape music. I've got ideas for some of the modular nights kind of stuff. I've got ideas for electronic music projects. I'm just not getting around to them because I'm spending too much time building stuff. Going back to the tape stuff, I've also recently picked up a new toy. A nice charity shop find. There it is. What is it? Well,
the Sony M425 micro cassette recorder. Loads of fun.
It's a dual speed micro cassette dictaphone type recorder with those cute little mini cassettes that you get in there. Dual speed, so yeah, I could record at a normal speed and then slow it down, or I could record at the low speed and then speed it up. So when it starts getting onto the synth or things like the piano or guitar or things like that, I can start to have, or even ambient sounds. Yeah, loads of potential. I'm going to be playing around with this quite a bit, and it's bound to turn up in a track or two somewhere. And yeah, but I've only just got it. Like I say, it was, believe it or not, £3 from a local charity shop. Couldn't believe it. £3. It cost me another, what was it, about £10-11 to get 3 of the micro cassettes, but they were the old Sony micro cassettes, still in the original packing, still sealed, so they were new, old stock. So brilliant. I've dropped on really. I'm looking forward to playing around with that. There's much else to say really, not at the moment. Like I say, the idea for this vlog was sparked from the fact that it should have been Synth Fest in Sheffield last weekend, which would have marked the 2nd anniversary of the setting the seed for the Cuzzy Sound project. So yeah, I think I've not done too bad in the last 2 years, starting from knowing very little about synths and even less about how to build them. But I continue to learn. Every time I do something, I learn. Even when I revisit stuff that I think I've already done once, I find new things about it, and that's a joy. So if you're going to get into this, go into it with the intention of learning, not just playing, not just copying. But if you're frightened about how to start, go and buy one of the kits, either one of the cheap ones from the grassroots DIY scene, or even one of the more expensive commercial kits. There's plenty out there, but don't be afraid to have a go and build your own.